Welcome to First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. I'm your host, James Gardner, certified athletic therapist, certified strength and conditioning specialist, yoga instructor, human being. This platform, for the pros, by the pros, anybody in the performance space, and beyond. Welcome here to share in the stories of professionals, experiences, journeys, learning along the way. It's a platform to connect, to network, and to be a part of a community that cares, with conversations that matter, experiences that resonate, and generate ideas, thought-provoking, organic dialogue, passionate pros. Brought to you as always by First Star Therapy, Mobility Tape, Epic, and Benchmark Athletics. In association with the Canadian Athletic Therapists Association. It's First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being a part of it. All right, welcome back to Let's Chat, the official podcast of WFAT, a distinguished and global panel here today to discuss a few things, primarily focused on the international agreement. We're getting closer and closer to World Congress in Dublin coming up in October, so we might as well get some more information about what the international agreement is, what countries are involved, how to get involved, and our panel here can do a much better job of distinguishing all of those points as we get into conversation. We have Steve Aspinall, Pete Dewar, Shannon Fleming, and Enda White here across the globe. I'll throw it over to each one of them, working alphabetically, starting with you, Steve. Where are you in the world? What is the international agreement? Why is it important to you? And then we'll go around the horn until we get back to the top.
Okay, I'm based over in the United Kingdom. Incredibly important to me. I've been part of this profession and part of the British Association of Sport Rehabilitators and Trainers since the late 1990s, including a lot of that time as the chair of their executives committee, and I'm now the chief executive. I was an educator as well, university lecturer for 21 years at the University of Salford, which is in Manchester in the north of England, and it's just something I've always been incredibly passionate about, is trying to promote this profession and actually develop it, not just on the national stage, but also the international stage. So how do we develop this profession globally and actually work together to make it a really, really strong, respected, healthy and popular profession? And that's something I've, as I say, I've come to work with my Irish, Canadian and American colleagues, and it's been a fantastic journey. I'm looking forward to the rest of it.
Beautiful. Welcome aboard. Pete Dewar, we'll throw it over to you for your brief intro. Same question.
So I am the Director of Operations for the Canadian Athletic Therapists Association, and one of the many roles that I have within there is overseeing our member interactions with the international arrangement, whether it's individuals coming in to the CATA or our current members who are looking to challenge the exam in one of our partner associations. It's obviously a big piece of portability for our members and for the members in all these associations to be able to potentially become certified and work in some other countries and grow the profession as well. So as someone who was trained in the US and certified in the US, but Canadian, I quickly saw the value in an agreement like this and to have this in place and to allow that portability and the mobility of athletic training. So I think this is it's a great arrangement that's in place, and it'll continue to grow as we move forward.
Beautiful. Welcome aboard to you as well. And Shannon, we'll throw it your way before we get to you, Enda, and then we'll jump in to this feed first.
Sounds good. Thank you. My name is Shannon Fleming. I'm the Senior Vice President of Credentialing at the Board of Certification for the athletic trainers based in the United States. And this is really important and has been a strategic priority for our board for quite some time. It's important for the mobility of athletic trainers, but also just to grow the profession worldwide. So we're very excited about the international arrangement, and hopefully we'll see it growing, soon. But very excited, and thanks for having us.
Awesome. Welcome aboard. Thank you for your time. And last but certainly not least, over to you.
Yeah, my name is Enda White. I'm on the ARTI, that's Athletic Rehabilitation Therapy Ireland. I'm on the international committee for ARTI. I've been involved with ARTI since its inception back in 2006, and I've sat on various different roles within ARTI. I also lecture in the athletic therapy program in Dublin City University as well. For us, the international arrangement is really, really important for a number of reasons. It's important for mobility for students as well as, but mainly for professionals. But as well as that, it's so important for us as a new profession in our country for credibility. For us to be aligned with our partner associations in Britain, in Canada, and the US, it gives us a gravity and support network that makes it easier for us to approach sporting bodies, government bodies within Ireland, and to say we're part of this global network, this global profession. So it's not just that portability, which is important, but it's also the credibility that the IA gives us.
Amazing. A great capture. And so just as we launch into the conversation, again, thank you so much for your time. Obviously carved into international schedules, different time of day and night around the globe here, and discussing the international arrangement between countries. So we talked about having a little bit of leverage, both portability as well as, support internationally. What does this arrangement involve? I guess let's start there, just for somebody who may not know. If I was to say, what is it? And maybe to start with you, last one to speak. What is this arrangement?
Yeah, sure. So it's an arrangement between ARTI, between the BOC, between BASRaT, and between the CATA. So it's at the kind of professional organizational level. And what it allows it to do is that if we've got certified members, so each of the organizations have a certification exam now, and that members can sit to become fully certified. If we have certified members who wish then to apply to work in the US or in Canada or in Britain, there's a process now that has to streamline that, and where people can apply through this international arrangement process to identify any areas or gaps that they may have in their education to help prepare them for the certification examination in another country. So they've got the best chances of passing that. So that's really what it would be my understanding of it. I'm sure the others have maybe more nuanced interpretation of it as well.
Sure. Anybody want to jump in there?
I think Enda is spot on as to what it is. So I wouldn't have anything additional to add to that.
Great. So I'm an athletic therapist in Canada, or I'm an athletic therapy student in Canada, and I want to work in the US or in the UK or in Ireland. You're telling me through this arrangement, I can figure out how to do that. Is that correct? And then if so, Pete, you're in Canada, you understand it. Let's start maybe there, and then we'll go around the globe. What do I do as a student? I'd love to work internationally. I spent a lot of time in Canada. I spent a lot of time in the US. I'd love to do something overseas. Student, newly certified, been certified for 25 years. What do I do? Where do I start?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is obviously it's good to be aware of this arrangement as a student, but you can't engage in it until you're certified. So obviously the first step is to become certified in your country with your entity. But once you have that certification, now you have some options, right? Now you can explore potentially becoming certified in one of the other countries. Each of us have a general call it a process for processing these applicants. Speaking on behalf of the CATA, in general, you'll apply to the CATA as a temporary international candidate. It's a small fee associated with that, and that basically puts you in our system as kind of a pending status while you complete the international arrangement process, which is a process of submitting your education and whatnot to a third-party reviewer called ICD. So what happens after that is basically a report is issued to the receiving association. So if, for instance, you're a CATA member looking to go to the BOC will receive a report of your education history, your certification history, and that type of thing. Review that, identify any gaps that may need some remediation, and then assist you with that remediation, and then essentially you would become eligible to take the exam in that country, or for that association, I should say. I think we all have our own little individual tweaks on that process, but that's the general process that would exist. But the first step, obviously, is become certified in your country, and then you have some choices to make. But you can certainly prepare yourself for the process while you're a student, if it's something that you already know that you intend to engage in.
Great capture. Shannon will just move south of the border, and then Steve shift over just across the pond, and then swing back your way. Anything to add that way, Shannon? I'm in Canada. I want to become board certified in the US.
Yeah, very similar to what Pete describes, in that you just would come to the BOC website and either create a BOC profile or log into your BOC profile if you happen to already have one. Maybe you started one a long time ago. And then you would go to apply for the exam. And what it's going to do is then direct you to our third party evaluator, which is the International Consultants of Delaware, or ICD. And they're going to have them submit some documentation in regards to their education, their identification, and any other credentials that they may have. And then ICD generates that report. They send it to the country where that applicant wants to take the exam. And then what we do is we take a look at it. And if there are any gaps, we take a look at some of the coursework. Sometimes we find coursework that will suffice for us to meet that gap that maybe ICD has missed, or we give them information on how to bridge those gaps. I know Canada does. We also have a brief exam, a brief assessment that we give to all international candidates coming through the international arrangement, primarily because there's nuances in our healthcare system country that you wouldn't maybe see in Canada, Ireland, or the UK. So at that point, they are then would be eligible to take the exam, and they register and sit for the exam, and then then they can apply for a license.
And we have remote testing sites. So for the BOC, can I write that exam in Canada? Do I have to go to the US to write that? How does that work?
Yeah, so candidates can test in any of the countries for the BOC exam anyways. They can test in their home country, if you will.
Beautiful. Steve, over to you in the UK.
Yeah, I'd also add there's something slightly different really as well, that it doesn't necessarily only start when you're certified in your own particular country. For example, we have students who go over to the US to do placements with professional baseball, with the aim that actually that's somewhere they want to end up. So it's something you can do as an international experience while you're actually studying, or you can at least get in touch. You can start to experience a little bit of the flavour of what's happening in those particular countries as well. So it can start quite early on, as opposed to just waiting until you're certified. So people might think about this for quite a long time. It might be something that's a bit of a slow burn, where people might work in their own country for a while and then decide to go across based on their experiences, maybe as a student and internationally. One of the things I will say for this entire process, you don't have to remember any of this. It's all on our individual websites. There's a lovely guide. If you just type into Google, for example, BASRaT International Certification, it'll take you to our website step by step. And we also have links to all the other organisations as well. So you can actually go through, you get a guide of what happens at every single stage. And the same for the exam as well. It's not as if you're being pitched up to an exam, you've not got an idea of what's going to be in there or what it's actually about. It's very clear guidebooks and very clear kind of frameworks for what exactly is going to be covered in that particular examination, so people can go through that and they can help kind of prepare it. I'm not sure the exact mechanisms, obviously, of everybody in the group, but we do assist people as well. So if people are really struggling with particular areas, we'll organise meetings and we'll go through that, including some of the educational content, to give them a hand and kind of give them some direction, really, so they're not floundering around. And because there are definitely slight differences, but they're not insurmountable. And seeing that exchange now, and actually having more than a dozen people kind of coming through the process from one direction, and obviously kind of going across to Canada and the US as well, you know, and speaking to people afterwards, we really are close as a profession. And this framework is, you know, it gives us a really good idea of what's kind of going on. And those gaps are, they're not massive gaps. They're gaps that people who've gone through the program successfully in their own country can easily actually kind of pick up and work with and actually kind of develop.
An amazing capture. And I think for our listeners out there, whether new students entering the field or people that have been in the field for a while, this hasn't previously existed. And so finding this information, knowing what this information, and knowing that this arrangement is growing and evolving as we go along. And thank you, Steve, for pointing out that Google is always a help as well. There's a lot of information when it comes to international arrangements in between countries and crossing over. And so an unofficial support from Google being there to answer all these questions: BASRaT, BOC, RT, the CATA, as we navigate this. So, and to you, anything else to add with us from your side?
No, the system is quite similar to what has already been mentioned. Again, people, whatever stage they're at, be it student, but they might begin to consider this. And we've had quite a number of US students who've come over in particular, and some are looking for clinical rotations. And that's something we're trying to kind of support. It's not something we organize as RT, but it's something we're trying to develop a framework to support people who may be interested in this. And I think that is good, so people get a sense of the content, you know, of the profession, and the workings of the profession is quite similar across the four organizations, but sometimes the settings are quite different. Definitely in Ireland, they're quite different from the would be maybe in the US. And in Canada and Britain as well. So to understand how things work, or how the system of athletic therapy, athletic training works in Ireland, that's good to know, and good for people to find out. It's and also we find as well that the ICD process, where people submit their education, and people hear about the gap analysis being produced at the end of that. The gap analysis, it's not punitive. It's not to try and put people off. It's actually to have to support people. It's actually to support people in going, these are areas that might be different in the country you're going to. And these are areas that, yeah, we can give you support on how to upskill in this. So it increases your chances of passing the certification exam. So sometimes when people hear about that gap analysis, they think, oh, this is trying to stop me from this process. It's not. It's in fact, it's the opposite. It's to try and help people increase the likelihood of them being successful in that process. So from RT's point of view, it's the same set of steps. You can register as an international non-certified member. I think it's for €50. That's the first thing to get the ball rolling. And then you can put in your ICD application. When that analysis comes to RT afterwards, we'll be able to give that individual direction and support in what areas to focus on if they need to, give them some idea about the supports in the certification exam as well, and it can be done remotely. In Ireland, we have the certification exam generally about 3 times a year, so it's not as frequent in some of the other groups, but this is, again, up on our website. That information will be there a long time in advance. People will have an idea of when it is, so they can prepare accordingly.
Yeah, a great capture. And again, like sort of globally, we have a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different regions, you know, represented here. And so I think the one thing that comes through in all of these conversations that I've been honored to host is the skill set travels between athletic therapist, athletic trainer. This skill set can travel globally, but we've never really, or I've never really looked at the profession as using that skill set to be able to travel and to go and see or to go and work somewhere else. And so a shameless plug for WFAT World Congress coming up in Dublin in the fall here in October. I've been to the past couple World Congresses and gotten to know that these skills that athletic trainers and athletic therapists house are, generally speaking, the same. You talked about gap analysis. We've talked about support. We've talked about areas that we can bridge gaps between different learning styles or different organizations from different countries. But when we go international to these World Congress type events, you begin to see just how valuable that experience is when everybody gets together. And there is support between international countries. There is support between the BOC and BASRaT and CATA and RD. And the intersection of the understanding, the knowledge, and what the profession is. So a great capture there, and a great opportunity coming up in the fall to see Dublin, where you are. And I've never utilized my skill set or my profession to travel other than the teams that I'm on the bus with or the plane with, to travel wherever that schedule is. And here's an opportunity to see the world in a time where seeing the world matters, understanding different perspectives and getting to know how things are done in different countries, which you sort of touched on. My next question where I wanted to go was the content of the profession may vary a little less. It may be grand in some areas, but for the most part, let's call it uniform. Athletic training, athletic therapy, globally, skill sets relatively the same, but the setting can vary. So what resources are available for students interested in employment in countries taking part in the international arrangement? And where you are, would you recommend trying that out in that country before aiming for employment in said country? So just understanding, what is the landscape like in the UK, in Canada, in the US, and in Ireland? I think it's a fascinating sort of trajectory of where this profession can go. Pete, let's start in Canada because I'm here and we haven't heard from you in a little bit. Would you recommend that? What resources are available? And then take it from there. And everybody just jump in. I won't call you out next. Just jump in where you see fit.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly helpful. And I think a lot of people spoke about the gaps and whatnot. And a lot of that is just around healthcare system differences, right? And maybe scope of practice differences among the countries and whatnot. So it's certainly helpful for someone to get their toe in the water in that country and start to understand those systems that are there and what can and cannot be done. In Canada, to find an international position, it's really going to be based on your institution and institutional agreements with other institutions in other countries and who may be bringing some people across and whatnot, because you're going to need a student visa or something like that to do that. You can't just it would have to be associated with your education. Obviously, it'd be very difficult for you to just come over for a few months and work and not be under the umbrella of some sort of education because you wouldn't be certified, right, in this country. And so that would be a challenge. So yeah, it's all about exploring institutional opportunities. And we certainly support our accredited institutions with any opportunities that they may have. But those are obviously, those vary by those institutions individually.
Look at her redirect. Shannon, she came off mute in the US.
Sure. So athletic trainers practice in a variety of places, but I think a couple of things that need to be known first and foremost is that say you get certified, you also need to get a license to practice in the state in which you're practicing, which there are 48 states that have licensure. One state that has title protection and one state that has registration. So now all of them recognize the BOC exam as part of their application process, but there may be nuances from state to state that may be hurdles that some people need to go through if they're international. The other thing is a visa. You need to check out the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services website about working in the United States. I don't know a lot about visas. I just know that I looked it up and there is a place to go. So, but then once you've got all of that figured out, you can start looking for jobs. And there are several resources that we can point you to. The National Athletic Trainers Association is a membership organization for athletic trainers, and they have a career center. So one thing you might want to consider doing is becoming a member of NATA, as that career center is for their members. The NATA also offers their members a mentor match program, which some people may be interested to do if they plan on being in the United States long term. ATs also can be found on your typical job sites such as LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, things like that. I noticed that the NCAA, which is the college athletics here in the United States, they also have a job posting site. The College Athletic Trainers Society has a career center. And then there's it's a little bit related to the Department of Labor, and it's called Career One Stop. It also has a job search tool that might be helpful for people looking to practice once they've gotten certified, licensed, have their visa. Those are just a few resources that they might want to consider.
Amazing. Great points as well. Just the nuances within each country, right? State by state, state licensure, and just acknowledging that is obviously an additional, not want to say hurdle, but an additional consideration in applying if you're not US based. Steve, over to you in the UK.
Yeah, in the UK, we're a bit more simplistic from the perspective that I suppose we don't have to worry about different states. It's all just one system. We have an international membership as well. As part of our international membership, you get access to all our jobs boards and all the resources that BASRaT has kind of behind the membership portal. And obviously, as I said, you've got us as well. So people frequently, kind of meet up with one of the members of our team, or if, for example, somebody wants to work in professional football, we'll usually pass contact details, what we call link officers. So we have link officers in lots of our different professional areas. So we have people who work, at high levels in professional football, in private practice, lots of different kind of areas, or the NHS, and they're happy to speak to people who are wanting to find out a little bit more, get a bit more information, especially around kind of working in a very specific domain. So there's lots of kind of resources in there, and that's part and parcel, I'll say, of this international membership that we offer, which includes the exam as well. So that's kind of quite reasonable.
Great. And again, the varied setting, football being that game played with your feet with the black and white ball, not football, American football, which is not played with your feet. It's only kicked sometimes. But again, the setting matters, and where things are popularized and how things are situated, different, right? In the UK, football being the sport that comes to mind. The American collegiate setting has been brought up. Canada, most people think of, who knows, snow and other things. Whatever we're doing up here, Pete, I don't know, snow and things like this. But Enda, over to you, and in Ireland.
Yeah, so I suppose one thing to consider would be, as Shannon mentioned, the whole visa requirements, and we will, for any international or candidates who are expressing an interest in it, we direct them to the visa section of the Irish government websites. Unless if people are EU citizens or British citizens, it's much easier. But outside of that, you would have to have your visa requirements. From student perspectives, we do have, as Pete alluded to there, we do have arrangements between different institutions where they would have students come over, and maybe students go to the US or Canada on placements, and Britain as well on placements. And that's good. It gives the student real nice exposure to how the systems work. Because in Ireland, our system is quite different. We don't have the same employment opportunities in educational institutions that you may have in the US, for example. Most of our members would work in private practice. Athletic therapists in Ireland, patients have direct access to them, so they don't have to be referred by a physician, for example. The members of the public themselves can directly refer themselves to an athletic therapist. So we'd have a lot of our clients, or a lot of our members, would be self-employed. or they'd work in musculoskeletal clinics, some in some of the private hospitals. So it's a different kind of arrangement, as you would have maybe in the US and Canada. Some overlap with Britain as well. We wouldn't have the same level of professional sports in Ireland as we would have in the other countries here. But there are opportunities there. There are some opportunities, but they'd be limited enough in the number of professional sports we have. But there's a really strong culture of community level sports where the athletes wouldn't be professional. We have the Gaelic football, which is the Irish form of football. So another one to throw into the mix there as well. That's community level, but there would still be a huge amount of opportunities for athletic therapists to work in that field. So I think it's important for I suppose for RT as well to make this information more readily available for international applicants on our website, but also for the international applicants to consider that too. By joining RT and by joining as an international member, you will have access to all of the job postings. You will have access to educational resources as well. And there will be a number of jobs posted through RT, through LinkedIn, through jobs.ie, all of these different platforms as well.
Beautiful, a great capture. And again, looking forward to the fall in Dublin, where we can see the landscape, Gaelic football, potentially. Not even sure when the season runs, but look forward to that. And plenty of opportunities in each of these countries. And again, through this profession to make connections globally. And that's kind of what the whole premise behind the arrangement is: support, portability, all of these things that we've touched on already. Pete, maybe just to you quickly, who is involved currently in international arrangement, and is there discussions to grow that group?
Yeah, so obviously, as you've heard in this room today, you've got Canada, Ireland, the UK, and the US. Those four entities are currently making up the IA. We are engaging, and we do have some conversations with some other entities. Various steps along the way in the process of potentially joining the IA. So I think it's something that's going to continue to grow. It's just a matter of as the profession continues to evolve and gain traction in other countries, and those countries begin to develop some sort of accreditation, some sort of certification exam, then they can become ready to potentially petition to join the IA. So the four of us for now, but there's certainly some others coming down the line at various levels.
Sure. And the basic research on anybody's side, if they go through WFAT and they're looking through LinkedIn or through the website on WFAT, there are 41 academic institutions that span Canada, the US, Ireland, Israel, Spain, Trinidad, Tobago, and Wales, to my latest research. There are 10 charter members, which span countries as well as PBATs. So Steve, you mentioned going over to the US for professional baseball experience. The Professional Baseball Athletic Trainers Society is one of the charter members of WFAT, and 5 associate members, including Israel, Jordan, and Greece, and their associations there. So broad reaching, here we are with the 4 official members of the international arrangement and agreement. And so just diving in here on what this means and how this supports, but looking at, I'm 16 years into my professional career and had no idea that there was this international opportunity. And so understanding that there are agreements and arrangements in place has been eye-opening for me, but also to continue to push this profession forward and allow people to have this navigation of conversation, where this profession is, where it's going, these types of things. Additional information, everybody's mentioned websites and Google and these types of things. Additional information or things that are top of mind that you would love to direct students or faculty or new or old therapists to find high quality information on this arrangement and obviously what's happening globally with the profession. Pete, we'll start with you. You're unmuted, so wherever you want to go and then work our way around.
Yeah, so obviously, again, our website as well, all that is publicly available. And then as well as our members area. So once you do start to enter into the IA, you can get access to our members area, which, as many people have mentioned, job boards, we have a mentorship program here in Canada where we can mentor you through the exam and the exam process. And we have an international liaison as well that can assist. So certainly a lot of resources on our website, and that will also get you into our mailing list, right? So now you can start to receive our e-blasts and our updates that we send to our members in general. So, and all of that, I think, helps you get a better feel and a better handle on not just the association that you're looking, or the organization that you're looking to become a part of, but also the landscape of the country and the profession in that country too. You start to receive those updates and just become an informed member, or informed certificate holder, so to speak.
Beautiful. Shannon, over to you.
Sure, we have an international section on our website, and it's pretty much dedicated to the international arrangement. We have all things international arrangement on that. It explains what it is. It provides links to all 4 of the organizations. It has education and credentialing information. It has information about joining the IA. So you could certainly go there and get to everywhere else that you need to be as well. So I highly recommend taking a look at that on our website.
All right, across the pond we go. Back to you, Steve, in the UK.
Yeah, very, very similar, with all the information kind of on the website. Gives a good guide to everything that's going on. Once you have that international membership as well, certainly with us, you get access to kind of members' social media groups as well. So you can actually chat directly to lots of different members, as well as lots of kind of normal contacts we do. As Pete said, obviously have all the normal kind of newsletters, communications, and there's lots of ways to actually kind of get involved with the organisation and get talking to people as well. Just another plug as well, really, for Dublin, because I think one of the most valuable things we all do is when we get together at the international conferences, we build some fantastic relationships, and people are, in our profession, are absolutely brilliant at sharing what they're doing and their experiences. And you get a real feel for what's happening in all the different countries. So if anybody is seriously considering this and they can get across to Dublin, it really will be an absolutely fantastic experience. And it's a lot of the value isn't just in all the lectures, the workshops, which are obviously going to be absolutely amazing, aren't they? And they're going to be incredible. But it's about that networking. And it's something I've been doing for quite a long time, is going to the different countries and conferences. And it changes your perspective, and it helps everybody kind of help to work through our profession, develop our profession, change our profession positively. And it's just fantastic to get experiences from all over the world. It really is brilliant. And Dublin will be an absolutely awesome opportunity to get to know lots of people in lots of different areas. You know, from the UK, for example, we've got people who work at the very highest levels of sport. They're over at the Olympics. They've looked after, kind of numerous of the best athletes in the world. We've got people working in the top leagues of our kind of football over here. And, it's just a brilliant opportunity to speak to people and have a real conversation about what it's actually like in that particular country to work. And that's really important.
Yeah, a great capture. And before we move your way, that's the 16th to the 18th of October, officially in Dublin for World Congress here coming up. And having been to the last couple, I couldn't speak highly enough. We're making the world a little smaller here with the international arrangement and connecting via Zoom. It gets even smaller when you can share similarities and see differences culturally as well as professionally, and learn with and from and converse and go out for dinner and see the landscape and just be immersed in the culture of the country that is hosting the World Congress. It's been an honor to be a part of WFAT on this small level, hosting conversations like this, to get information out to people and being there in person to hear, to navigate, to listen in, and to host conversations. We'll be there as well. Again, another shameless plug. So if you're hoping to have a conversation, we'll be there hosting. Lots of podcast opportunities, lots of opportunities to speak with guests and lecturers and the committees that are there and all the people that are doing the hard work and setting up for what World Congress will be. It looks to be an amazing event, not just for where it's located, but for who and what the information is that will be presented. that doesn't happen without agreements like this as well. So sorry, and for jumping in a little too long, but over to you for your thoughts.
Yeah, so not much to add from what has already been said. Lots of information up on the websites that will help people. But one thing that occurred to me there, while Steve in particular was chatting there, was the willingness of people in this profession globally to assist. I think is really important. Like we've got so much in RT, we've got so much support from the BOC, from the CATA, from BASRaT as well on like issues that we've experienced. Our partners have experienced it as well, and many have had successful outcomes and have been able to give us advice, give us direction. So even anybody who's listening to this podcast or who attends the World Federation Congress, that you know, if this is something you're interested in, come and talk to us. You know, we are more than happy to give advice, give direction on it, and as well, like in Ireland, the one of the reasons why the athletic therapy profession began was because it was Irish people went to the US, studied athletic training, came back and said, "Look, this is good. We should have it here in Ireland," and kind of didn't know where to begin with, you know. But then with the support from BOC, from CATA and BASRaT, helped it to get established here. And similarly, if there are people who are maybe studying in the US or in Canada or Britain that are from other countries around the world and thinking, we want to go home and set this up. How do we go about it? Like we'd definitely be willing to advise and give support in that because the advice we got early on really helped us to accelerate to where we are. So I think that's important to say as well, that there's a real support network in this profession globally.
That's a great capture. And again, having been lucky enough to be at the last World Congress, which was in Tel Aviv or just outside Tel Aviv, it was similar sentiment from a relatively new profession in Israel, having the support and having the opportunity to navigate this stuff with the support of bigger conversations of bigger organizations, smaller organizations that may be similar or dissimilar in terms of their strategy and or rollout, layout, format, so on and so forth. So really informative across the board here and across the pond, across the globe with the international arrangement. Pete, Shannon, Steve, and I'll leave it with you to close it out however you wish. Just final thoughts. Look forward to hopefully seeing all of you in the fall. If not, having more conversation before then. Really informative here for myself and hopefully for all of our listeners on whatever level or wherever they're at within this profession, knowing that this is a profession that spans around the globe and can bridge international waters through arrangements like this and all the hard work that you're doing behind the scenes that WFAT continues to do to build this as an international profession. Pete, I'll throw it your way, and then feel free to pass the baton, onwards to wrap this thing up.
Yeah, I think, well, and James, thanks for bringing us all together to talk about this. And I think I'll kind of echo what everyone said is there's a great deal of people that want to help. And when it comes to the IA, I think everyone in this room is happy to help. And we all have people within our organizations that are happy to help. So for anyone who has questions about the IA, reach out to your current association or reach out to your destination association, for lack of a better term, and ask questions. And I think everyone will be happy to assist you. It can be at times it can be a bit overwhelming, especially when you're talking about different countries and potentially moving and different changes and things like that. So don't be afraid and reach out, and there'll be a helping hand on the other end at any point in time. Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I just want to echo something that Enda said as well, that we really are here to support not just individuals, but countries and organizations as well. We've all been through a different journey. So each of us as an organisation, things have happened slightly differently in each country. The legalities, the regulation, the system you work within. So we've all kind of developed in kind of quite different ways, but actually that's to the advantage. It means we can help other countries and we can provide them with the kind of information they need. For example, we've spent decades and hundreds of people have worked on, lots of different frameworks, documents, regulatory processes. We're happy to share all of those with any developing country. So anyone who wants that information, it's all available. So if anybody needs that help to develop the profession in a particular area, a particular region, we can all assist with that. And I think that comes back to the root of it, which is that I don't think I've ever come across a profession where people are so willing to go out of their way to help everybody. It really is a wonderful international profession, and hopefully it will continue to grow because there's so many fantastic people working in it, and it's an absolute pleasure, to be part of it.
Shannon and wherever we want to go.
So again, like kind of to repeat what Steve says there, it is wonderful that there is such an energy about this profession and a willingness for it to develop. We see the value of it. We all see the value of it in different countries for the individual therapist, but also for the association as well, and for the benefit of the general population in each country as well. There's a real role there. So we're all for promoting that and supporting that. One bit of advice I'd give to candidates who want to maybe go through the IA is just to be patient. It takes time, okay? It's not something that you can do today, decide on today, and be working in the US on Monday morning. It's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a bit of time to get your ducks in a row, to get all your paperwork together. So just to be prepared for that, I think, is one thing. It's going to take a little bit of time. But that journey, there's lots of support for the individual on that journey to help them be successful in that process. And I'll pass over to you, Shannon.
Thanks, and you took the words right out of my mouth. Is to be patient and to have your ducks in a row. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I think it's well worth having those patience and getting it done. We've had, I think, 85 people have reports submitted and have gone to their respective countries and hopefully have been successful on an exam. I know we've had about 20 plus been successful taking the exam from other countries. So, I think it's just a matter of like we all have said, reaching out, because we're here to support people. We want them to be successful. We want them to come practice in our countries. And we're all here to help. And I think as I'm listening to everyone, and I think WFAT's a great place to start that conversation. But then we all have individual conferences. CATA has a wonderful conference. NATA has a great conference. Actually, it's in Orlando this year in June. But there's always a good representation of international people. I know at NATA conference, and I know at CATA as well. But that's another place to consider, attending and immersing yourself in the culture.
No, beautiful. And I think we've done a wonderful job across the globe here capturing what this profession is, and that people who are in this profession are willing to help. That's what this profession is, and that's where it starts, and that's where it'll finish. Thank you for passing the baton, getting us to the finish line. A special thanks to Matt Lewis behind the scenes as well from WFAT Academic Institutions Committee. He's at Messiah University. He's in the background here today, not saying much, but again, thank you for connecting the dots here for all of us here. Steve Aspinall, BASRaT, Pete Tour, the CATA, Shannon Fleming at the BOC, and Enda White at RT. Look forward to connecting with all of you and discussing this further as we go into the future. Thank you so much for your time. We'll leave it with that. To our guests out there, all this information will be posted in the podcast summary, links to each individual group within the arrangement, and to WFAT. Be sure to check out World Congress. Be sure to check out the international arrangement. Be sure to check out what's going on in this profession across the globe. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being a part of the community. Keep helping, keep understanding, keep building bridges, keep making this the best profession that reaches around the globe. Thank you so much for your time. Look forward to chatting soon. Thanks again for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of this community. Check us out online, firststartherapy.com. That's FIRSTAR therapy.com. Or email us with feedback, consult@firststartherapy.com. CONSULT firststartherapy.com, on Instagram at firststar.therapy, and our podcast host at letschat.at. This is First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast.